Do I look at the camera? Do I
look at the camera.
I would say I'd probably get
7 to 8 hours.
And I get about 7 hours.
5
I
hours
get
of sleep a
about
night.
6 or 7 hours of
Realistically,
sleep each night.
It
about 5 or
depends,
so.
but like it's usually below
Like
6 hours.
3 to 4.
3 to 4 hours
I'd
of
say
sleep per
I'd
night.
get about
6
hours.
and a half
Probably
hours of
get
sleep
about
each night.
6.5
Anywhere between
hours a
3
night.
to 5 hours of sleep.
New research addresses a question faced by many parents. Why do some kids have a harder time than others getting out of bed for school? So, daytime stress follows you into the night and disrupts your sleep.
By forcing them to wake up at really early hours, you're really just putting them in a state that's ready to fail. They're in school at a time where their brain is still asleep, essentially.
How many people have you interviewed so far?
I'm Nicholas Pernis.
I'm Miguel
senior
Galindez.
Jesuit.
Kelly
my name is
McCarthy.
Gabby
My name is
Navarro.
My name
Ben
is
Pham.
Caroline
My name is
Lee.
Paul
I'm
Dowski.
Sam
Hi,
Arnott.
my name is Johanna Parker, and I get about 7 hours of sleep every night. Well, I think that as high schoolers, our school starts earlier than my middle school, and having to work around that and wake up earlier definitely just lessens the amount of sleep I get, especially because I stay up later than I did in middle school doing homework and doing sports and activities. So all of that combined just takes away sleep from me every night.
I think school by itself is manageable, but with everything together, the combination of, like I said, shows for me, but a varsity sport for other people and clubs, and all of that together it affects it pretty intensely, I think so.
If we get out at 3 o'clock each day, or you go to practice, or you go to your drama practice or whatever you have, you gotta go to that and then do homework and then try to salvage as much sleep as you can. I know a lot of my friends and myself don't get enough sleep most of the time.
I know a lot of people that have pulled all-nighters during school multiple times, and some people who on average get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and that I know is not healthy. And when you have a huge group of students who all are sleep deprived, that takes away from the learning environment, and it makes it harder to focus for you as a student, and you don't do as well on your tests or your essays or any projects.
When you have a lot of schoolwork, for me personally, I tend to kind of stress out, and then I end up procrastinating because I kind of don't want to do it. But then if there's no schoolwork, I end up not also doing anything related to school just to maintain whatever I need to do for school. And it's kind of hard to just maintain a sleep schedule with school around for me.
I think it's kind of, in a way, outrageous that you're at the level of 1, 2, 3, 4 hours of sleep. I hear some people, some friends always say oh, I didn't even sleep last night. Or during finals, people will say, I got 2 hours of sleep. And I guess that is kind of always occurring. You can't avoid people's study habits. You can't change that. But you definitely can change the amount of rigor that's in the curriculum right now, because I feel a lot of that rigorous education could have been moved toward middle school or further down the line.
That most teenagers are walking around sleep deprived won't come as a shock to parents or teachers. According to the National Sleep Foundation, on average, they should be sleeping 2 more hours per night. First period classes in high schools have lower attendance rates and higher incidence of napping, or so we hear.
Your high schooler's chronically tired, right? Stays up late every night, surveys say close to midnight, finishing homework, texting friends, screen time, doing whatever teenagers do. And then has to get up early, typically 6:30 for school the next morning. Happens 5 days a week, with your teen getting more and more tired.
My name is Prasida R. Sridharan. I'm a pulmonary critical care and a sleep physician at Kaiser Permanente. Sleep has multiple facets, how it affects human beings in general. In teenagers, it has three important functions. Number one is mood, number two is higher intellectual functioning, and number three is your physical effect like metabolic syndrome. So number one, mood, what it does is when you sleep, it acts like the brain acts like a filter, like consolidating things. So data from your regular life goes to the brain and get filtered, and only the stuff that's important for you stays, and the stuff that is not important for you gets washed away by the brain. Second thing, it affects the intellectual function. So because the brain is able to act like a filter for thought process, if you want to take a test, if you don't sleep well, the brain is not able to function. So testing, concentration, suggestibility. The third effect of sleep is metabolic function. They have studies showing if you have people and kids and adolescents, if you have them give sugar and healthy diet, processed sugar and healthy diet including proteins, and a sleep deprived person compared to the person who slept well, ask them to choose which one you want to choose, they go for the sugary diet. This affects on long term obesity. It affects with your obesity related diseases like cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure. If you look at the data, and we want to always look at the data to know what's going on, 87% of the teenagers sleep less than 8 to 10 hours. So that is almost considered an epidemic.
I think schools could give less homework and then give students more time to sleep and stuff. But I don't know an effective way to help students sleep more.
I think a lot of educators and faculty members do address it, and I think everyone recognizes it, but there hasn't been much done to change it. So I don't have very many suggestions for new things to implement because it's very hard, especially with sports being right after school. But
I think they try to address it, but it's not really like a strong effort. Like personally, I just think teachers should like communicate more on how many assignments they're giving and like just not have all projects due in 1 week.
Like teachers have to fulfill a certain quota of homework or some kind of work hours that they have outside of class, but I don't think teachers take into account just the sheer amount of things that kids do. Because I mean, like in earlier generations, a kid could just do school and maybe like a part-time job for a couple hours a week and be successful in life. And now for us, there's so many more hoops we have to jump through. And I don't think this education system or teachers have adjusted their mindset of that yet.
Some teachers I know will get more into like, you need to get this many hours of sleep, and some teachers will be aware of the issues surrounding sleep deprivation, but I feel like the vast majority don't, especially when assigning homework.
That schools recognize it, but it's not as talked about as much. In health class, there's a good amount of talk on it, but other than that, there's not much about it. It's just sort of a side thing that they mention before big assignments.
Specialty only started coming out in 1980s. Sleep deprivation was studied in depth in Stanford and at other institutions in 1990s. So both scientific world and cultural norm has been against sleeping for a long time. So that probably has led for the school not recognizing it early. So, but they're not alone in the game. There is a county in Minneapolis. It's called Edwina or something. Yeah, that county first did a study of getting kids come to school at 8:30. Kids slept more. Kids felt better. They felt empowered by doing that. you might want to have a regular sleep time and a regular wake up time, Monday through Sunday. No iPhones, no phones, no TV, no screen time in bed. That's something most people don't. About 72% of teenagers take phones and screen time to bed, so that's something we can stay away from. Early morning light, blue light, may be a good thing for teenagers, especially during winter months and in Portland, Oregon area, where it is dark most of the time. That helps you get your melatonin suppressed quickly in the morning and get going. Our daily exercise and not to have caffeine, alcohol, smoking before sleep. American Academy of Sleep Medicine in 2014 came out and suggested high school late start would be better instead of 7:45 to 8:30. But there is a public outcry because of the school buses for public schools to run at different times to stagger the time between middle school, elementary school and high school has been hard. Then the other important thing is parents. Parents' work time is usually 8 o'clock, so they want to drop off the kids early. As a society, we need to educate more. We need to prioritize teenagers' sleep, not only for their health but also for the health of the larger population, because they are the future citizens of the nation. So for that reason, I think prioritizing sleep is very important, just like exercise and diet.
It's time to wake up and think about sleep.
It's not just how much you sleep, it's when you sleep.
More and more schools are starting later, or at least considering it, but most still require teens to show up for class when their brains tend to be still asleep.